Game week 12 in the Premier League. I'm going to be going over lineups, injuries, suspensions, all of it in just a little bit. All right, Adam Zdroik here at Roto Zdroik, also rotowire.com/soccer trial to get a 48-hour trial. That's a 48-hour trial for rotowire.com. In addition to soccer, you can get all the other sports as well. And then our Discord is also very busy. It's been a busy week. UEFA play still going on as I speak. There's been a lot of changes. On Thursday, I'm talking later Thursday, so I've gotten all of the Brighton injuries, a bunch of the other injuries going on that just came out on Thursday. But rotowire.com/chat if you want to jump in our Discord as well. Here's the soccer page. We got FPL rankings up, Fantrax rankings up, waiver wire pickups. We got our cheat sheets, and that's what I'll be getting into here. I'll be using our FPL cheat sheet, which is right here. So it has all 10 games on it. I'll be going over the lineups. We got the odds report as well and everything else here. So it's going to be, I think this is going to be a long show here. There's a lot to talk about. And it starts with this first game here that we're getting into. And I'll start with Wolverhampton here, just for fun. I'll start with Wolverhampton. So Wolverhampton, they don't have Pedro Neto, and in their first game without him, or at least their last two, because Neto got hurt. I think it was the first half. I guess it was late in the second half and against Newcastle. But they went kind of like a 4-4-1-1 look. They don't really have a like-for-like replacement. Paulo Sarabia is not getting minutes for him. Thomas Doyle moved into the 11. So Joe Gomez, fellow, defensive midfielders. It looks like Doyle has the leg up there. Mario Lemina has been starting all season when available. So they kind of use a little bit of a different look with Toti Gomez and Semedo as fullbacks, and then Aiden O'Ree was pushed up a little bit there on the left wing, and then you still got Hwang on the wing. And I guess the big move was Sasa Kalajic came into the starting 11. I believe it was his first league start of the season. So I got the same lineup that they used in that loss. There could be some changes. Maybe they go back to a 3-4-3 because it was working, but I don't know if they have the actual lineup for that. They would play, if they could do the 3-4-3 again, it would be Cunha on the wing. It would be Cunha and Hwang on the wings with Kalajic up front, or they could get a little weirder as well. But I still have the 4-4-1-1 in there for them. Because they lost, maybe they'll change things up again and go back to the 3-4-3. Tottenham are the one with the big question. So on Monday they played against Chelsea. They lost a lot of guys. I think James Madison's fine. He went off. Was it right? I think it was right before halftime. A little bit of an ankle issue. I think he tripped or something in the box. But if it was a normal match, if there wasn't a red card, if they weren't chasing kind of a thing, Madison probably would have played through it. I think Madison's fine, so he's in here. Today it came out Richarlison finally got his groin surgery, so he's going to be out a couple weeks. So Brandon Johnson going to get another start. I'll click into his profile here. I think he only made it about 34 minutes on Monday because of the Udogie red card. So looking into it, the question we have is we haven't really received any news yet from last week, but Ben Davies could be in here. So if Ben Davies is available, maybe that changes some things. I think that would mean Ben Davies starts at left back, and then you have Emerson maybe playing at center back instead of Højbjerg. Højbjerg has played at center back before. Maybe it was 2 or 3 years ago. I don't know exactly, but he actually did play as a center back as well in Monday's game against Chelsea. So what else do we have here? Van de Ven, he's probably going to be out about a month. He has a hamstring injury. And then Romero was suspended. Udogie suspended as well. So Højbjerg, Eric Dyer, that's what we have for the center backs. This is assuming Ben Davies isn't ready to return because he had some kind of muscle injury last week. We don't have, any real news update on that. Otherwise, they don't really have anyone else. Dyer, that's why Højbjerg's in here at center back. And then you got Emerson over on the left side with Pedro Porro, the lone regular here who is available for this back line. But otherwise, everyone else is available. Basuma, Sarr, Brandon Johnson getting another start here. So this back line will be interesting here for the trip to Wolverhampton. Manchester United. Rashford's good. He's good to go. He got the straight red card on Wednesday against Copenhagen. That's why the suspension mark's in there. So he's suspended in Champions League. But Garnacho has started the last couple matches, and I have him in again. And so I think the first 40 minutes of the game against Copenhagen, Manchester United, I'd say maybe looked the best or played the best that they have all season. So I feel like they're going to use that same lineup in there. With Garnacho on the wing and then Rashford on the other side. And then otherwise, okay, McTominay, Eriksson, Casemiro's probably not going to be ready to return, or I don't think he is ready to return. Johnny Evans got hurt on Wednesday, so we got Varane in there next to Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire made famous for one of his passes against Copenhagen. That video clip is making its rounds. And then you got Dalot and Wan-Bissaka. So it seems like Sergio Reguilon is going to be on the outside looking in now that Wan-Bissaka is available. And I think this is just kind of the preferred look for them. Lindelof, I guess Lindelof has a chance to come in for Maguire here. Wouldn't be surprising if that happened. We can actually check in the depth chart here and see what's going on with Lindelof. So he had an illness, but he did not come off the bench. So he missed the game against Fulham. Then he was on the bench against Copenhagen because of an illness. So he is an option to come in for Maguire. So it could be Lindelof and Varane there at center back. Luton Town, this is the same lineup that they just had against Liverpool. So honestly, there's no reason to change what worked. They got the 1-1 draw against Liverpool. No reason to change it. So what they did was Anders Townsend got his first start of the league campaign up front. So it's kind of like a 3-4-2-1. Agbene and Townsend, more of an attacking roles with Carlton Morris up there. And then what they've been doing, Doughty and Issa Kabore at wing back, and then Nakamba. Actually, Ross Barkley got the start next to Nakamba. So the two changes from prior lineups was that Barkley was in the midfield next to Nakamba, and then Townsend also got a start. So a couple, veterans that Luton Town plugged into their lineup. And I know they're home, but still, anytime you can get a point against Liverpool, the way they've been playing, granted they did just lose to Toulouse today, but again, no changes here for Luton Town. Crystal Palace, big news here, highlighting the name Eberechi Eze back in the starting 11. So I normally I'd take a few, maybe a week or two before I'd actually move someone like Eze back in the starting 11. He was out for the hamstring injury. He made it 32 minutes, though, last weekend. So I think the fact that he made it 32 minutes and it wasn't like 5 or 10 minutes or something like that. So I got him back in here. I moved him back in for Doucouré. So Will Hughes has been playing well. So I got Will Hughes starting over Doucouré. So kind of like, they do kind of a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, not a massive difference there, but Hughes and Lerma in the midfield, and then Schlupp technically on the wing there. And then Eze is in there. So technically, compared to last week, Eze is taking the spot of Doucouré, and then the back line goalkeeper, all that is the same. No changes again as either for Everton. So there was Doucouré has an illness. He's good to go. Branthwaite has a minor knock that Sean Dyche just mentioned today. He's going to be good to go. Nothing to worry about, really. This has kind of been their top lineup. Idrissa Gueye started over Onana. Onana, who had a minor issue, but he's going to be good to go. So I guess the one question would be, is Onana going to come back in the starting 11 for Idrissa Gueye? That would be the main question. Otherwise, I don't think they're going to change anything. Everton have been playing well with this group. Ashley Young, the one time he didn't start was because he was suspended. That's when Nathan Patterson came in. So not really anything major going on between Crystal Palace and Everton. Arsenal are home against Burnley. You can't say the same for this one. So Tomiyasu picked up, seems like he's always picking up kind of minor issues here. So he picked up an issue on Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday. Let me just double check here. Not that it matters. Okay, it was Wednesday. Getting my days mixed up. But so Zinchenko, I think he's going to be back in there. And then the questions we have is, we haven't really gotten a great update on Odegaard, what his exact injury is, what's going on with him. I got him in here. I'd say it's about 50-50 with Odegaard and Kai Havertz for that midfield role. I'm just leaning towards Odegaard because from basically what Arteta's saying, it's not a major injury. Again, I thought he was going to start last week. I thought he could have started midweek, but we'll see. Just because I don't think it's a major injury, I think he can be an option. Again, we're going to get. I think we only had 2 press conferences on Thursday, so we're going to get a lot of press conferences on Friday, and that's going to help us with a lot of these questionable options here, including Eddie Nketiah. So he missed. So I think it's an ankle knock. He missed Wednesday's match. Yeah, it was an ankle injury. So that one was a bit of surprise. He went 79 minutes against Newcastle. Maybe he picked it up there. So I'd say also Nketiah's 50-50. So Odegaard 50-50, Nketiah 50-50. And then Leandro Trossard would take Nketiah's spot, kind of what they did on Wednesday, do like a false nine kind of thing. Saka, he does have a questionable mark. I think Saka's fine. He just got a kick. It's not like a muscle issue or anything. I'd say if any one of these 3 questionable players, I'd say Saka maybe 70-30 to start kind of a thing. I think he's most likely between Odegaard and Nketiah to start. If Saka doesn't start, then that's kind of when we get into Reece Nelson. That's when we get into some different players. Fabio Vieira, maybe he's another option to come back in the starting 11. So home against Burnley, maybe it is time to rotate for Arteta, but it is before the international break. So there is time to rest. Burnley, I think this is pretty much what they had last game. So we got the news of Lau Foster's dealing with some mental health issues. So he's going to be out for an uncertain amount of time. So Jay Rodriguez came into the starting 11 last game. Vincent Kompany's trying to change some things, trying to do some things. Josh Cullen is back from his suspension. So I think he's going to come back in for Sanderberg. This is one of the most unpredictable lineups that we've had. Al-Dakhil was removed completely from the team. Wasn't even on the bench last game because he was really struggling. Coutinho's been starting over Connor Roberts. Jordan Beyer was back, so that's good news. But again, a lot of other guys in here that aren't great. They lost at home against Crystal Palace, even though I think they dominated possession. Maybe not dominated, but they had more of the possession. I can't remember the exact number. They might have 12 corners to 1 corner. I think it was that game. But otherwise, I didn't really change much because there's just not a ton to change for this team. There's not that many options. I mean, you could go back to Connor Roberts, but there's a reason Kompany has gone back to Vitinho the last few games outside of Connor Roberts' suspension. So he kind of sees something he likes with Vitinho in this spot. Otherwise, I mean, you have Zarauri is an option as well. He felt the need to plug in Jay Rodriguez for, leadership kind of a thing. So, they're stretched thin with options. I'm not sure what else they're going to do. Gun Munson was a crossing machine against Crystal Palace. Obviously, it's not going to happen against Arsenal. I wonder if they do go to 3 center backs or really change their formation a little bit here just because it's at Arsenal, one of the toughest spots of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if something changes here. And in that, you'd go, let's see if I think they've done 3 center backs one other time this season. So let's check this out. Well, they did a 5-4-1 in the opener. Might have been in a League Cup or something like that. They could do a 5-4-1 here in this spot. It wouldn't be that surprising. I'm just not sure. They just don't have the center backs. It would mean, I guess, Al-Dakhil returns to the starting 11. Maybe you put, I guess, Connor Roberts or Charlie Taylor could play as one of the center back roles. We'll see. The possibilities are, I want to say endless, but not really because they don't have a ton of guys on this team. Bournemouth home against Newcastle. So they changed their formation up last week, and I think it was 5-4-1 is what it was at Manchester City. Obviously a difficult matchup, but now they're playing Newcastle, so it is another difficult matchup. So I'm not sure if they're going to go back to their usual 4-2-3-1 kind of thing or stick with the 5-4-1. I got the 5-4-1 in here. So Alex Scott is probably going to be out here. He posted an update about his knee injury today, actually on Thursday. It seems like he's going to miss some time with a new knee injury. So that means Lewis Cook is back from a suspension. So Lewis Cook's going to be back in there. He's preferred over Joe Rothwell. They could go back to 4-2-3-1. That would probably remove maybe Kirkes because in prior games, Lloyd Kelly was playing at left back. So that would be something. So Kirkes would be replaced by like a Semenyo or a David Brooks, Sinistera kind of thing. So that's something to keep an eye on. I'm not 100% here on this formation. I got 5-4-1 in. I think 4-2-3-1 is as likely, but it is a difficult spot against Newcastle. And I know Iraola wants to mix things up. I mean, at some point, you can't just try a 5-4-1 formation and then never try it again. So maybe he goes back to it here. Newcastle, the big news is Callum Wilson felt his hamstring got a little tight in Tuesday's match. How long did he go? 45 minutes. Yeah, he subbed off right about halftime there. So that is the question. If he's out, there are questions because Bruno Guimaraes is another one added to the list. As you can see, this injury list is getting longer by the day. Dan Burn picked up an issue. So who started? Livramento and I think Lewis Hall both started in their midweek match. So there's a few ways they can go here. So I got Livramento at right back and then Trippier at left back. And then Joe Willock comes into the midfield. He's basically replacing the suspended Bruno Guimaraes. So that's kind of it here. There's not, because Jacob Murphy's out, all these other players are out. There's not a ton of ways to go. That's kind of why they're forced into, okay, Lewis Hall has to start at left back, and then Livramento was playing as a right winger kind of a thing. That could happen again, and then you're going to get I'm not sure what you're going to get. You're going to get Anthony Gordon maybe as a false nine, and then El Marone on the opposite side of Livramento kind of thing. We'll see. Again, we're going to get information from Eddie Howe. Their press conference is going to be right away Friday morning. So that's going to be, they're usually the first one Friday morning. So you're going to get news on Callum Wilson's injury right away Friday. So that's going to be the big thing. If Callum Wilson's out, if he's got a hamstring issue, I'd say Anthony Gordon, false nine. I don't think they're going to change formations, but it'd probably be, so if Wilson doesn't start, I'd probably move Lewis Hall into the starting 11, and then I guess just guess the formation yourself. I'd say it's similar to what they just did on Tuesday with Livramento playing a little more forward, Lewis Hall playing in the back four there. So that's what I'll say with Newcastle, one of the more difficult ones here. And then as I get to that, the next team, Brighton, speaking of difficult teams to talk about. So Brighton playing Thursday, just one of the teams that got more injuries. So Tariq Lamptey, he picked up another issue. Is that in training? This news just came out yesterday. He's going to be available after the break. So James Milner only made it 8 minutes on Thursday. I doubt he's going to be available here. Person Stupinian, he came back from his injury. He came back from, I think it was a month-long injury. He came off the bench, only made it 12 minutes. Basically, I assume it's a re-injury. So with Stupinian, he's probably going to be out for another couple weeks here. Lewis Dunk also picked up, I think, a muscular injury. So another guy out. Basically, three possibilities for their back line. Let's check out what we got here. So I got Jason Steele, revolving door at goalkeeper. But Van Heck and Igor get the nod above Adam Webster at center back. Joel Veltman, okay, he's in. Pascal Gross is in at left back. And then we got Dahoud and Gilmore playing as defensive midfielders. And then maybe a slight surprise, maybe not a surprise, but I got Ansu Fati back in there. Adam Lallana has started, I think, the last two league matches in this role. But it's Adam Lallana. He's older. They have Ansu Fati. He's been playing well. I think he just scored today. I think Ansu Fati gets the nod above João Pedro because Fati subbed off in Thursday's game. João Pedro did not sub off in today's game. So that's kind of why I'm leaning Ansu Fati right there. Evan Ferguson also back in 11 with Dinger and Miedema. Those guys have been playing a bunch. Sheffield United. All right, so they're coming off their first win, so I don't think there's going to be a ton of changes, but they did have an injury to Ryan Brewster, so I moved in James McAtee, who came off the bench for him in the win against Wolverhampton. I don't think McBurney's going to be ready. I guess that would be the question. If McBurney's ready, which I don't think he is, he'd probably come in for McAtee. But otherwise, they went back to the 3-4-1-2, I guess technically 3-4-3, whatever you want to call it. But because they got Baldock back, Baldock moved into the center back role. And then you had Luke Thomas and Jaden Bogle playing on the wings. So this, I think there's kind of run it back here with maybe McAtee's spot, the one real question, I think, for the starting 11. Otherwise, I don't think there's a reason to change it here for the trip to Brighton. All right. Aston Villa home against Fulham. So Aston Villa are actually playing right now. And I just did a refresh. I don't think we got any new injuries here to worry about, hopefully. Leon Bailey was subbed off late in the match. So fingers crossed for Leon Bailey that he's not injured again, but I assume he's not. So this is this is the same lineup they've been using. The question would be, let's see. Yep, Matty Cash actually. So he had an issue. I don't think it was much because he did come off after 50 something minutes against Nottingham Forest, 59 minutes. But he played about 16, 20 minutes in today's game. So Matty Cash is good. Otherwise, this is the same group for Aston Villa. This is what they've been doing. They're back home. I think they just beat AZ Alkmaar. They came back from 1 goal. This is a bounce back league spot for them. So, yeah, nothing changes. I think the one question would be maybe Zaniolo gets benched for Leon Bailey. But again, Leon Bailey went 90 today. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be the same group here. Same core of guys, which is kind of what they've been rolling out in this 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1 formation. And then Fulham, I think I got the Fulham lineup correct last week against Manchester United. So Rodrigo Muniz moved in the starting 11. He's up there, maybe giving them something different than Vinicius, than Raul Jimenez. And then Iwobi's playing in a little more defensive role in the midfield, and that kind of allows Andres Pereira to play a little more forward. Iwobi, just one of those guys who can do a little bit of everything. If you remember his time at Everton, he can play many positions. But otherwise, no changes here for Fulham. Yeah, Harry Wilson, I'm keeping him in over Bobby Cordova-Reid. That's kind of a revolving door there for Fulham. I don't think Marco Silva has a great preference, but I think it's going to be back-to-back starts for Harry Wilson. Liverpool, as you can see, the questionable tag on Van Dijk. Liverpool, I think they did not play at home. They're in France today. But Van Dijk had an illness, so he was out of the match. I think he's going to be fine for this one. I actually think I'm actually going to change this. So I have Tsimikas in here. I'm actually going to move that to Joe Gomez. I think Klopp is having some defensive questions with Tsimikas. I believe he made a mistake in today's game and allowed a goal defensively there. So I think actually it's going to be Joe Gomez back in the starting 11. So the question is, how are they going to look in the midfield? Luis Diaz started today. I don't think he's going to get back-to-back starts, so he's back. He got his dad back as well, so good to hear in terms of that. They have a bunch of injuries. Gravenberch was injured today, so he was out. I don't think he's going to be ready to start. McAllister is the big news because he's suspended. So instead of McAllister, I moved in Endo to play that slightly more defensive midfielder role. So we still got Szoboszlai in there. I think the question will be, will it be Harvey Elliott or will it be Cody Gakpo in this midfield spot? I think Elliott is probably preferred overall, though Gakpo, I think he's played there once or twice this season in that midfielder role. So it could be Gakpo over Elliott. I'd lean 60-40 for Elliott, but Gakpo is an option. And then, as I said, I don't think Luis Diaz is going to get another start. So I think it's going to be the same group: Jota, Salah, Nunez. Brentford, we'll see with Flecken. I think it was, let's click in here. I think it was a dead leg for Flecken. Yeah, dead leg for him. I think he's going to be fine. He's had a week to recover there. Brentford, mess of a situation. Aaron Hickey is out, I think, the rest of the year. You throw that in with Rico Henry, and they got a lot of problems. So we could see Ben Mee back in here. I've been thinking it's going to happen the last couple weeks, but they've had success with Nathan Collins in here. So I kind of said it last week. I guess if you're having success with Nathan Collins, then why are you going to bring Ben Mee back in here? But I think maybe after the international break, it will be Ben Mee time. But for now, I got Nathan Collins in here. So it's back to the 3-5-2 formation. As you can see, they don't really have any fullbacks. So we got Janelt. I guess Reerslev is technically a fullback, but he more plays in this wing back role. So Janelt has started at left back when needed. So he's going to be in this left winger role kind of thing. Mads Reerslev's on the other side. Okay, Mbomo, Visa, and then Onyeka is another start. He is the fourth midfield option for them. So Brentford, tough spot. We'll see how they line up, over the next month or so, but they're in a really difficult situation given their defensive injuries here. We'll see if Janelt continues at left back or Thomas Frank decides to do something else. West Ham are home against Nottingham Forest. So they get from suspension, though I think both of them actually started today. Let me double check that. West Ham, they just beat Olympiacos. They just played today. Yeah, Paqueta and Edson Alvarez returned to the 11 today. Both of them were suspended for the last league match, so I got those guys in there. Though I do think Souček is an option because Souček did not actually start today. He came off the bench. So I think the question, Kudus has been getting a lot of run. So I think while it is against Nottingham Forest, I do think they're going to be more attacking. But I think if one thing were to happen, it would be Kudus dropping to the bench for Thomas Souček. And then Souček would play next to Edson Alvarez, and then Ward-Prowse would move a little more forward there. But otherwise, Kurt Zouma, we still don't have, he's been out. I don't know if he's going to be healthy enough for this one. So that would be the big question over Mavropanos, Konstantinos. And yeah, so that's the main question. And then otherwise, I'd say Kudus is about 60-40 to start over Souček. But Souček definitely is an option to come in here for the starting 11. Nottingham Forest, they moved Vlachodimos over Matt Turner in their last match, and it worked. They beat Aston Villa. So they do have a couple changes here. So Ola Aina came back in 11, and then who else was in there? Was Toffolo in there? Yeah, Toffolo went off with an injury against Aston Villa. We'll get a note on him. But I think since Ola Aina is back, we can get Serge Aurier at right back and Ola Aina at left back. We'll see what happens with Toffolo, but he has been playing well. So it would be possible that he took the spot of Serge Aurier again. Something to keep an eye on. But even just because Toffolo is dealing with an injury, I do think Aurier gets the call here. And then otherwise, no changes. Awani is playing through an injury. So you got that in there. Alanga, Gibbs White. They don't really have a ton more options. Origi isn't fit. Hudson-Odoi isn't there. Isn't ready. Chris Wood is out as well. Chelsea options. This is pretty similar to what they just ran out. Actually, I think this is what they just ran out Monday against Tottenham. So Reece James is back from his injury. So what did he have? 75 minutes or whatever he had on Monday. So I think he'll be 80-plus minutes in this one. He played 77 minutes. Okay, this game's on Sunday. So I think he'll be 80-plus minutes removed from injury. Otherwise, everything is the same. Enzo Fernandez is marked with an injury here, but I think he's fine. We'll see what Pochettino says on Friday, but I think he's going to be fine. I don't think it's anything really to worry about. Otherwise, same as what they've been doing. Manchester City, final team of the weekend. Okay, so we have some injuries that popped up. John Stones, I believe he suffered a re-injury. I don't even think he's questionable. He's going to be out for a couple weeks here. So he's out. Manuel Kanji picked up a back issue before Tuesday's Champions League game. He's going to be out. So we have those things in here. Doku did not start on Tuesday, so he's going to be back in there, I believe. So I got Foden benched here, similar to kind of what they just did, Foden on the bench. But 4-2-3-1 is the lineup. So we got Gavardio at left back, Kyle Walker back in this right back role. Without Jones Stones, you have Diaz and Nathan Ake there because Akanji and Stones are both unlikely. And then Bernardo Silva next to Rodri in that midfield role. And then you could say, okay, maybe Foden starts over Grealish or Doku, but I think because he went 90 on Tuesday, I think this is kind of what Pep's going to do. So you got Grealish on the left, Doku on the right, Alvarez in the middle, because Alvarez did not start on Tuesday either, I don't think. I guess he was out technically. I don't think he's injured, but otherwise, yeah, Haaland's good to go. He subbed off after 2 goals. He subbed off after 61 minutes. He's good to go. That's all I got. Thank you for watching this rotowire.com/soccer trial. It's 48-hour trial. Make sure to give RotoWire Soccer a follow on Twitter. Or if you want to follow me at Zdroik, make sure to give this video a like on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Please do that. RotoWire Soccer on YouTube. Also, check out all of our other content. We're going to have a betting show. I'm going to have a betting article. Going to have DFS show. Going to have all that stuff for the Premier League. And then, of course, we cover all of these other European leagues. If you want to know about injuries, if you want to look at lineups, check out all these leads, check out all these stats. And here I'll end with the odds report. Arsenal, biggest favorite of the weekend, though Brighton are not far behind despite all of their injuries. Thank you for watching this. It's been a quick 30 minutes. Hopefully it helped. good luck with FPL. Good luck with Sorare. Enjoy this weekend, and then we got the international break coming up. So, shouts to the international break. How about that?